I know everybody has busy afternoons. I am actually driving in from Dickson County. I was in Dickson County today. So you are going to be on my cell phone, and it's going to be down here beside me. And I am going to turn my video off when I finish talking to you now so that it won't be rocking back and forth, because since it's going to be beside me in my car, I don't know what it's going to be looking at. This is an area in Hamilton, on Hamilton Church that we're meeting on. We've met him on this before a long time ago. And the developer wanted to come back to you all to see if any things have changed or if they have made enough improvements for you all to think that it would be worthy to listen to what they have. I think you all have met several times because he's presented on things with us before.
Can you hear me?
Mr. Roy Dale.
Can you
Roy,
hear me?
are you
Not on
on
my phone?
call?
The phone, that I saw where your phone went on, I mean, the mic went on and off.
All right, there are some people besides
still don't
me
hear
that
anything.
that aren't muted. Can
don't
you all
it?
hear me?
Do you have your computer settings to it?
Yeah.
Am I being heard?
Computer
No,
set to,
Yes, you are.
Speakers are on, camera's on.
Okay, cool. Okay, thank you. I think that was Roy or somebody. Okay, so
are they
the
set to?
phone is going to be
WebEx,
down
or are they set
beside me in the
to
car,
contact?
and I won't have it up all the time. So please have somebody watching the chat. Make I have
Councilmember, you're breaking up some, and I think that this is Larry Price, and I think that Roy Dale's getting some technical assistance.
Start video. Join again. Oh my God. Can you see me anymore?
Yeah.
Roy, are you ready now? Okay, guys, I guess we'll just hold on a minute and see what's up, because I think he's
I
having
can't
some
even join
technical
again.
difficulties, like Larry said.
Go back out and start all over.
That's what I
again,
just
too,
did.
Mr.
That's exactly what I just.
This is Larry again. Hey, Matt, while we're waiting for Roy to get set, could you look into this project is not appearing anywhere.
Not appearing where? I believe you got
It's not
muted
appearing
there, but-
anywhere on Metro Planning Department's development tracker. I tried looking by council district area. I tried looking by the case number, and it doesn't come up at all in their development tracker.
Yeah,
And
I
Now,
that's-
I
can
know this is
absolutely look into
I
that.
know this is old. We have had this sitting, I know, for maybe about a year or so. So I don't know, Matt, if that'll have anything to do with it.
Okay, I can look into it.
So thank you, Matt.
Absolutely.
Do you know if Mr. Dale is ready yet?
He doesn't seem to be.
Well, I am so sorry, people, that I'm having you to wait. Hopefully, we'll get it in a minute. Hope you got all of the information that you needed on this. I will say, if you are on here and someone had to send this link to you, if you are in District 33, then This was sent to everybody that's in the database. So if you would contact Ms. Roseanne and ask her to include your information in our database, then you will get all of the information and the emails and the notifications. So if you didn't do that, please do that, because I want you all to be able to have that yourselves.
I can see you now.
Can anybody hear me though?
I hear you. It's very
She's in
light,
the
but I
car.
hear you.
Can you see Councilmember?
You've missed the whole conversation about me
Roy
traveling.
Bell, not council.
Okay, so I'm getting ready. Roy, if you're here, I'm gonna turn it over to you now. Please make sure that you monitor the chat room, because I'm driving and I won't be
Can you
able
hear him?
to. I hear you, Rosie.
I can't hear her either.
I heard him
You're
before, but
muted.
he was very, very light. So maybe he needs to turn his stuff up.
Okay, now can anybody hear me?
I can hear you now. It's not very loud, but I can hear you. Did anybody else hear him?
Yes.
I'm gonna
Okay,
get out and
so-
go back in, Roseanne.
Roy, we can hear you.
Make sure your settings for your mic are like we did earlier.
Well, I'm gonna leave and come back.
Rosie, tell him we could hear him. It was light, but we could hear him. Anybody want to sing a little song while we're waiting? Billy, you gonna sing us a little song while we're waiting?
How about now? Anybody hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Woo!
All right.
Okay.
So you can hear me?
Unbelievable.
Okay. I am going to turn it over to you.
Okay.
Please make sure you are watching the chat room, because I'm in a car and can't go back and forth to do that. Go ahead and give an overview and everything, and then we need lots of time at the end for community input. Okay, we good?
That sounds good.
All right.
So Roseanne,
Go
you
ahead.
still there?
Yes,
Matt is also helping when she's not there.
What'd she say?
Matt Purvis is on here. He's
Okay.
helping
So-
as well.
So I had sent an image of the site, just the overall tax record. Can we show that somehow?
We can share the
If you have
screen.
it up on your screens, you should be able to share your screen. I just
Okay.
gave you the ability to do that.
Okay.
Down at the bottom, Roy. You
Yeah, I
should
see
say
it.
share screen,
Right.
and he's giving you presenter ability.
Okay. Does everybody see this?
No,
You might have to click submit or something similar once you have the preview.
Okay, I'm just gonna talk about it for right now. So this is 30 acres that actually sits adjacent to the Shoreview subdivision on West Hamilton. And this existing subdivision was done as a Clayton Homes development. It has 139 houses on 33 acres. It's 4.16 units per acre. So there's over 4 units per acre on this adjacent parcel to the one that we're looking at, which is 32.7 acres that actually fronts on Hamilton Church. Again, Shoreview was done a long time ago, and they're basically modular houses placed on concrete blocks. And the property that I'm looking at, the 32.7 acres, is actually a part of a planned unit development that includes the Clayton's Homes project. So my client is Chris Perdue. He's a prominent doctor in Nashville. He wants to more or less have a separate access. He doesn't want to access his property through this Clayton Homes development. So he's also purchased 3.97 acres that fronts on Hamilton Church that he wants to use as his access to the remnant of the PUD. So the 3.97 acres that fronts on Hamilton Church is still zoned agricultural. It's AR2A. The 32 acres behind that is part of the planned unit development. The PUD is old. He doesn't want to, there will be connections to the PUD, but he does not want his main entrance to the PUD. And he actually is going to build to a lesser density than the PUD, but he does not want to be part of that planned unit development. So we applied to Planning Commission for an RS10 zoning, which meets the policy. And we applied for an RS10 zoning on the 3.927 acres on the front, which also met policy. We mailed out probably 300 letters to all the adjacent properties. Planning Commission got no objections. At the Planning Commission meeting, it was recommended approved. There was no one there in opposition. And so, you know, from a pretty well community perspective, from the people I've talked to, and obviously from the hundreds of people that were mailed, they're okay with this. So it's just a subdivision. It's a residential subdivision, single family, RS10. It meets policy, and it has a recommendation approved by the Planning Commission. So that's more or less where we are. And so I don't know what else to say other than, again, they don't want to be part of this PUD. The PUD would actually allow you to put more units on there than we're proposing. We're going to stick with the RS10 zoning. You can no longer do cluster development. You can do conservation development, but you cannot reduce your lot sizes as small as you were able to reduce them in the cluster option, which actually expires on September the 14th, I believe. So he just wants to do a freestanding subdivision, not part of the PUD, under RS10 zoning that meets the policy and has been recommended by the Planning Commission.
Okay, Roy, so what I heard was they had to change some of it because he wanted to access Hamilton Church. So you need a zone changing only for that area that's being accessed, or for the building, are you going to need the area where he wants to put up, you're going to need a zone changing for that as well?
He wants this to all be one concurrent zoning because part of the property would be under the PUD and part of the property would not be under the PUD. And so from the perspective of being able to do a consolidated development and not being under the constraints of this planned unit development, he felt it would just be better to separate himself from the PUD and just zone all this property to RS10. The PUD right now, again, has existing PUD, came out to 4.16 units per acre, and under the RS10 zoning, if he does his development, the most he can get is 3.62. So there will not be more density. It'll be less dense than existing PUD, but he is concerned that if he's a part of that PUD, I think he just has issues with just quite honestly being associated with that planned unit development at all. I hope there's nobody here that lives here. I'm not trying to say anything negative about where they live, but it generally doesn't meet the standards of what your district would be looking for. I'm sure you would not want to approve a development with modular houses, and that's what Shoreview is. It's 100% modular homes built on concrete blocks.
Okay, so I'm going to open it up and I hope people have comments now. I will say though, I want you to be careful when you mail out things and people don't answer back, does not actually mean that they're okay with it. Could mean that they're busy and haven't had a chance and it's been a long time. So I'm not sure what that means, but I don't want to just take it as meaning that everybody was okay with it.
Okay, well, I'm just saying, you know, this is.
Hopefully we'll have some people on the line now.
Sure.
that
Sure.
will have questions, because I know it was some time ago we did this, have questions and get a better understanding, and in that, maybe I can get a better understanding as well.
So I see now that I guess Matt put this image up. Is that correct, Matt? Does everybody see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So everybody can see the property, and quite honestly, there's nothing else to see but that. So that's the property. You can see it's on Hamilton Church, and you can see where the PUD is, and that the property to the left is the Clayton Homes development. And I'm sure the road network, the networks and patterns will look similar. There will be two connections because I'm sure planning will require us to do that. But in order for this to be a successful subdivision, Dr. Pardue felt like it needed to have a separate access from a marketing perspective and also just a better look. So I'm ready for my first question. I'm not hearing anything.
I don't know if they're shy or what, but
Check the chat. Check the chat.
And I know Tanya and I know John, you got something to say, dude.
Roy, check the chat.
Oh, check the chat. Okay, got it. All right, let me look at the chat. See if I can figure that out.
and before you answer, would you go ahead and read out what the chat's question is before you do that answer, please, Roy?
Well, I guess the last. I'm just going to go to the very top, see what it says here. It says we have difficulty. I got that. The planning commission staff comments for traffic and parking says see NDOT comments. Were those comments and what are those? Okay, so this was a base zoning, and based upon that, planning or the TDOT would require that when you come in with a concept plan that you would have to do a traffic study, but a traffic study was not a part of the actual zone change request. It was for a base zoning. And John basically says there's only three constituents on the call. Said one got on the Arias has been trying. The proposed development appears to forecast a significant impact on schools, and that's a comment from Larry Price. And that's really the comment I have. The proposed development appears to have a significant forecast on or impact on schools. And I would say, yeah, I mean, I would agree on that. We did apply for a base zone change. There's nothing in this that would account for an impact on schools. I guess just to answer that the best I could is that this meets the land use growth policy for the area. It's indicated to be neighborhood evolving, and it was part of a planned unit development that actually allowed 4 units per acre or more. So I don't think that there will be an increase in the density or the number of units per acre that's currently allowed by right. Simply, my client does not want to be part of that PUD. He wants to improve the value of this property by doing a higher quality development. And he wants to have the access off of Hamilton Church. So regardless, he would have to rezone that at least at a minimum the 4-acre parcel to something other than AR2A.
Roy, I appreciate your comments on schools. This is Larry Price.
Hey, Larry.
One of the, and this is not directed toward you, but one of the issues that I have is as developments, as zoning changes are applied for, particularly for Council District 33, where we have a lot of open AR2 property. They're looking at these as one-offs, and what Metro Planning and what MNPS should be doing, and we should be holding their feet to the fire on this, is as rezonings are approved, they should be keeping up with the cumulative impact on the schools. Frankly, they should be keeping up with all cumulative impact: roads, schools, water, fire, police. But this one, this particular rezoning, and you're right, the base zoning would allow for even more impact, but they need to be looking at this and adding this to what they have already approved that has not been completed. So,
Very good point.
Councilmember Lee,
Very
if you
good
could
point.
take that back to MNPS and council, we keep losing ground on our school capacities out here because they are not tracking that cumulative effect.
Yeah, I hear you, and I will do that. That's why I was saying that was a very good point.
So I actually did a calculation, and it's quite interesting. So I took the 32.7 acres at about the 4 units per acre, and I would get 132 lots. By changing this to all to RS10, including the 3.97, I got exactly the same number. So perhaps planning looked at that when they made the recommendation that this adds no more number of units than would be currently allowed under the current zoning. But I mean, I understand. I'm a former council member myself, and any time that you can have an opportunity to get some type of participation, I would certainly understand that. And on any zone change, I guess you've got an opportunity for discussion. And so I don't know what my client could do to solve the school problems. Probably not a lot, but it's something that could certainly be discussed as we go along. Thanks, Larry.
I don't know how this can be done or if this has been done or even been talked about, but I know one of the things we had the vice mayor to come right around in our area some months ago, and I'm surprised how many that there only be a certain number of developments going on at one time in a district. Then you can kind of calculate those numbers a little more realistically, or see the impact a little more realistically. That's also something I'm going to ask about. But if there's any other questions, please, now is the time for you all to make your comments. And keep monitoring the chat room, Roy, please.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
So Rory, this is John.
Hey, John.
How you doing, man?
Pretty good.
Yeah, not bad. End of summer, but I really don't have enough data to respond to your proposal at this point.
Well, again, it's just a base zoning. I'm sort of a natural problem solver myself, John, and I'm probably a little autistic too. So when a problem comes up, I want to solve it, and so I'm still sort of thinking about that school issue. And obviously, I'm not in the council anymore, but to me, it seems like there might be some type of an opportunity in an area that's impacted by schools, that there could be some kind of a impact or fee or something that could be charged per unit. I know at one point, y'all had that infrastructure deficiency area in Antioch where that any development that occurred, the developer had to do a certain linear footage of road improvements. And I don't know why there couldn't be some form of legislation passed in an area like that, so that any development that comes online would be required to do some kind of participation. So for me, looking at the bigger picture and not just looking at an individual site, it's something that I think that a proactive council person could get involved in.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Yeah, I've just been on, had 3 really good conversations with a Dale and Associates client over the last 3 weeks.
Okay.
Working on very specific community standards, development standards that are really going to raise the desirability of development in Cane Ridge. I'm talking both sustainability as well as design and integration in the environment. Um, and so when, so when I'm looking at a pretty blank slate, on a 50-acre parcel, I see ways to get to a desirable end. But when I look at a development that is sited next to the Clayton Homes development, and of course, I'll tell you about my mobile home park research we did a decade or more ago, but I don't see how can we really ask a great deal of the next developer to improve to much higher standards. There are some things that I'd like for you all to consider. I'd like you to consider setting back your garage from the front wall of the home. I haven't seen enough design to see how the streets are going to be laid out. But you know, usable front porches, 8-foot front porches, sidewalks, tree-lined streets. All this stuff is relatively easy to do. Some standards in the construction phase that keep it from kind of being a nuisance to the existing residents that are there. But as I say, it's hard with so many bad decisions, have planning decisions that have been made in the Antioch community for the last 30 years. It's really hard to retrofit any of this to meet to increase the average income of the community members so that we can get the kind of restaurants and things that people have been asking for while also providing, some workforce housing. And that, might be one thing that y'all might think about is integrating some more cottage-like opportunities where folks that work in Antioch, in the retail stores and the restaurants and things, can afford to live. But I don't know that we can hash that out over this telephone call, video call, but as always, I'm happy to chat with you or Council Lady Lee on the specifics of things. I think after these last three and a half decades, what I think what we need to do to raise up a community that is in need of being raised up a bit.
So let me tell you a little bit about my client, John, and council member and everybody here. So Chris Pardue is a dermatologist. He ran Bellmead Dermatology for a number of years, and Chris just retired. And he's old school. He doesn't probably comprehend specific plans, and he probably thinks they're not that great. But I could try to convince him otherwise. I know that Councilmember Lee on some other similar zonings that were RS10, she simply converted those to SPs, and she added all the types of conditions that you're talking about, whether they be setbacks or sidewalks or side entry garages or setback garages. And I know that's something that I think I can get my client to support if that gives everybody a little better feel and gives you a little more control. But I'll also tell you that planning has reworked all their subdivision regulations, and on subdivisions now, you're going to have to provide open space within a very walkable distance of your house. So subdivisions won't just have one open area anymore. It'll have multiple open areas. And I know there's a new landscape ordinance going through council right now as well. So there are things being done by the council and council members to try to make communities better and to enhance the value of livability in Nashville. And we could certainly if the council member wants to do this, she certainly can tell us whether she would or not. But she has on at least 2 other RS10 zonings that I've seen have them converted to SPs with stipulations. A couple years back, it was determined that you could actually have zoning, just base zoning with conditions as well. But I'm seeing less and less of that.
You're correct, Roy. I'd rather SP so that if something happens to the people who actually own it right now, then if someone else comes, then they'll know they'll have to have certain things in place. I think
Small store.
Locked up,
Locked up.
been there.
it needs to
Not
look like
literally.
that you name those things. I think we need something a little better so that we could actually kind of see what that looks like, and then we might a little better input or comments about how we things change or think that include or
You're in and out, council lady. And now you're out.
Yeah, I think I know what she's asking.
Yeah.
Or she's probably like you, John. She's probably would like to see some kind of tentative layout, maybe.
Yeah, I think details
Yeah.
is, you know, kind of, you always want to have some sort of certainty of the outcome. And I know Dr. Pardue is long in the tooth nowadays, I'm sure.
Yep. He just, the concept of a specific plan seems
foreign to
too
him.
regimented to him, seems
Yeah.
too regulatory to him.
Yeah.
But I think that, if we can do something, a hybrid of that or regulatory SP, I think he'll be fine. Because we're not going to be asking for anything that would be anything he wouldn't want to do anyway. So, limiting or having a certain square footage or a certain height or
Right.
porches and all those things, he's going to want to do anyway. So I don't see that it would have any negative effect or impact on him at all.
So I'm guessing been working on this cluster lot and
I have.
compact development.
I have.
See, the problem we've got is that you guys are discussing these things in a small working group, and then the community is having this conversation in another group, so we can't cross-pollinate ideas. And right now, we're kind of at a juncture.
Well, see, I've actually cross-pollinated for you because in the group that I'm involved in, I'm more of a community advocate. I've even said to the planning commission, for instance, on the cluster lot, when you could go down 2 zoning categories, it should be limited to 1.
Yep. Yep.
So I am right there with you because I've seen how the cluster lot has been abused.
Yep.
I've probably done it myself. You got a flat piece of property and you're like, I want to build as few roads as possible, make the lots as small as possible, and the rest I'll just put in open space. And so you've got huge open space, tiny lots adjacent to larger lots. It doesn't make a lot of sense. And so that's been changed. And I think that you're going to be pretty good with what they're coming up with.
Hopefully.
am I still off? Can you hear me?
You're back. For 1 second.
Moment. So I'm going to just pop off here a little bit, Roy. I'd be happy to chat with you. I'm going to see my 93-year-old mother tomorrow, so be out of town for a few days. But
Well, that's good news for you. If she's 93, that means you got good genes.
oh man, thank goodness, right?
Yeah, there you go.
But
Can you all hear me? Can I be heard?
I hear you.
yeah, well, we'd be happy to host the next one. Our Zooms usually get 30 or 40 people engaged.
I am not.
Let's not get too many
Gosh,
people.
let's see.
Well, yeah, I understand.
Okay. All right, John.
All right. Well,
I'll
thanks,
see you about
Roy.
your mother.
See you guys.
All right, bye. Is Larry still there?
I'm still here.
All right, cool. So, who else we got? Billy? You doing all right over there? All right, good deal.
Roy, we were always under the impression that Metro cannot charge any impact fees because state legislation prevents it. Whenever
Well,
Nashville tries to do something, the state legislature makes it so they can't.
I don't know what happened. Were you around when they were doing those infrastructure fees for Antioch?
No. Well, I don't know when they were, and if they were, I probably wasn't tuned in.
I don't, maybe that's why they stopped. Maybe there was some legislative act of the state of Tennessee. But to me, if you can prove an impact, I think that you should be able to do that. I mean, it'd be no different than Metro Water Sewer Services charging a fee. You know, but again, I'm probably getting into the area I shouldn't get involved in. I think it's something that, you know, the legislators need to look at in areas like Antioch that are just so stressed. It's just,
Well, I don't know that the legislature cares about doing anything that would help Nashville and Davidson County.
Councilmember, are you there?
Yeah, you're home.
Yes, can you hear me now?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, I decided to come in the house. I was sitting out in the driveway. I had finished driving, but I thought I better come in the house to see if I can get on my other computer. So, but I just heard you all talking about the impact fee. I had asked one of our lawyers sometime back about doing an impact fee to developers so that we could have money to stick in a certain place to make improvements. And I was told that we couldn't do that.
It just doesn't make sense.
So Roy, stop me if, because this is what I was saying before, I think when you all stopped.
Uh-huh.
I think I was saying that, well, I know I was saying that with what you were showing us, it's hard for us to make comments about the type of improvements that we really want. And the type of things that we really need because of that certain drawing, that we might need something a little more specific to give us something else that we could work with. Those things that you talked about that I usually ask for in an SP, that's absolutely right on target, because I would rather have an SP so that if something happens to the developer now or the owner now and somebody else gets it, that it will have all of the specifics that we have already talked about, and they'll have to adhere to that. But I'm thinking, and I could hear you all a little bit, but I know I missed a lot of the talk. So if you already talked about this, I'm sorry. But I think I'd like for you to come back with a little more specific so that we can give you some specifics when you're talking about the things that we would ask your person to go ahead and put in the SP.
So this is what I think I'd like to do. So Metro's getting ready to pass their new, it's not a cluster lot subdivision. I'm not sure what they call it right now, but I'm going to take those standards and I'm going to come up with a layout, a road layout and a lot layout based upon what they're adopting. And then we'll at least be able to see the shape and form of what would be proposed. And then anything beyond that that needs to be solidified could be done through this amendment or addendum to an SP, which could be square footage, heights, materials, that kind of thing. So I can do that, council member. I mean, I think that's appropriate to do that, certainly based upon the discussions that took place. So I'll come back at a future date. I'll come up with a plan that the planning commission would approve under a subdivision scenario, and then we can just look at it again. That's okay.
That sounds good.
All right.
Did we have anybody else that needed to make a comment or wanted to make a comment or ask a question or anything before we do that?
I do have
Billy?
a question.
There you go.
Well, I found the unmute button. I've had a blank screen most of this time. I don't know. I just kept hitting buttons and I got the whole thing now. This plan you're talking about, detailed plan.
Uh-huh.
My question concerns how does the community get access to this? I know that when you go to the planning commission, we can go to that development tracker, and if it's been posted there, usually we can see the plan. But other than that, I've never been able to see a plan other than something that's posted on by Metro Planning Commission, and I don't even know if you're to the point yet that it can be posted on that. So my question is, how do you get that information out to us so we can know where to go to find the details that we need?
Well, so if an item is going through the planning commission's agenda, you're right, it'll be posted. And so any subdivision or any concept or any actual zone change request would all be posted on the website. Now, once it gets to council, if it's a zone change request, then council has a website also where you can access through a legislative tracker and see what's being proposed. In this case, if this was going to be approved as just a subdivision, no, I mean not a subdivision, but a base zoning, then you wouldn't really see anything until it went back to the planning commission for a final plan. But in this case, however, I'm going to take this piece of property, I'm going to look at the contours, there's floodplain on it as well, and I'm going to do a layout based upon the proposed standards of a subdivision, so you'll be able to see at our next meeting. It won't be posted on Metro's website because it's not an official submittal to Metro. This is something we're doing between ourselves. So I'm sure your council member probably has a way to get that to you, or maybe there's a community forum, or we'll get it to you somehow. And it'll certainly.
One thing, I'm
Mhm.
sorry, one thing that we usually ask, Roseanne asks for you to send her all of the information
Mhm.
that you're going to present at like meetings like this. And when we do get that, we send that out to Billy, to everybody that's by email, to everybody that's on the call, everybody actually that's in the database.
Okay. So when I do this sketch, would you like for me to go ahead and try to propose some buildable standards, just so people can see? Just,
Sure, I think
something
that
to
would be
start
very
from?
helpful.
Yeah.
I think that would be helpful. And you know some of the kind of things that I
Yeah.
usually ask for anyway, because we've done it in some other things. So I think that would be very helpful, Roy.
So, let me also ask you about, I know that you had some kind of concerns about traffic calming on some things. Is that correct?
It is. It's very correct.
So like if this connects to that adjacent subdivision, it could create sort of a loop road or something where you could have some speed, and so maybe a traffic circle or calming circle would be something you might be interested in. Is that right?
Yeah, that's what we talked about. Any
Okay.
place where you have quite a bit of room that is just straight,
Okay.
because that's what they do. Even if it's not to go through the complex, sometimes it's just to go straight at speed and just to go home. So
Right.
yes, that is correct.
Okay. Well, I'll incorporate something like that on this plan that I'm going to give y'all. All right, Billy, I want you to smile for me. Oh my goodness. I enjoy things like this. Probably too much.
So we still have a little time left if anybody wanted to ask some questions or give a little input if you want some things, because you heard Roy said he's going to go ahead and put some standards in place. If you want to say a couple of things to him so that he can include that in there before we go, that might be good as well. And check the chat, Roy.
Oh, okay. I think there are no other things that are in there.
Okay.
Other
So
than,
nobody,
other than Councilmember Lee saying, I'm going into the house to get on. That was the last comment.
okay, okay.
All
So
right.
we're going to get ready to close this down now. I want to thank everybody for being on here. And I think when we have something else to look at in those standards, Roy, that'll give us more to have a conversation about. That'll
Okay.
be really good.
Well,
And Those of you, again, at the very beginning, I was saying, if someone sent you the link to this and you're not on my database or in the email, please contact Roseanne Hayes with your address and your information, letting her know that you want to be in the database, because what we do is send out a lot of the notifications and send out the information that we get straight out to the to you all, so that you can have it before the meeting and be able to look over it. Thank everybody once again for coming. If I don't talk to you before, I hope you have a wonderful Labor Day. I think we have a meeting next week, though. I don't have my calendar here, but if I don't, I hope you have a wonderful Labor Day weekend, and please be very safe and take care of yourselves.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
With
Talk to you
that,
soon. See ya.
thank you. Goodbye, everybody.
See ya.
Bye, Miss Tanya. As always, thank you, Roseanne. You are wonderful. And thank you, Matt.